Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Faction Spotlight. It's me, Doogie. I keep introducing myself as the main dev for Fiery Void at this time, and that remains the case. And with me for this one, I have someone that needs no introduction, Tom.
No introduction. Wow. Hey, folks. Tom Gladius, the resident irritant and meme lord of the Fiery Void world. And I'm here with our good friend Doug to talk to you about a subject very near and dear to my heart, the Orieni.
You're right. Well, I just couldn't be bothered giving you an introduction, and so I couched that in the sense that you don't need one. So
Thanks.
is what it is. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Orieni, but not the same Orieni that we talked about in the previous video. So why don't you take us through what the hell we are talking about?
All right. So, in this case, folks, what we're going to be looking at is actually what you consider a custom faction in the game, because the Orieni that I'm going to be discussing are what are known as the Great Crusade Orieni. So, I'm not sure if you recall from my previous appearance on the videos, but the Orieni initially lost their war against the Centauri, and their fleet, their Imperium, everything were mostly shattered, and they were driven back to their homeworld. However, this is based on a fan made supplement in which posits that the Orieni were never actually annihilated, they were just kind of left to their own devices. And of course, with the Centauri expansion, retraction, and the rise of the Narn, along with the Dilgar War, the Earth-Minbari War, everyone kind of forgot the Orieni existed. And so, with that in mind, the Orieni just kind of slowly but surely rebuilt their empire and did their own thing for the better part of 2 centuries. And so this posits their fleet after that point in time. However, in this case, there is a specific catalyst because if you'll recall from our previous video, the Orieni worship the Vorlons as gods. And hopefully, those of you listening to this will not necessarily be surprised by this detail as I spoil it. Um, at the beginning of season 4, of Babylon 5, the Vorlons in the Shadows left the galaxy. Now, if you were not aware of this, then I don't know what to do with you, considering you're playing a game that is based off a show that is, 35 years old at this point. I couldn't help you here.
Well,
Anyway.
maybe they thought the game was a prequel to the show,
Oh, well, oops.
and they thought, oh, I'd better play through all of Fiery Void first, then watch the show.
Yes, and then hang on our Discord so you can get the full context of the story, because our Discord is full of story. Um, but in this case, the Orieni, being the religious zealots that they are, lost their collective minds when they realized that the Vorlons were gone, especially when they realized that the Minbari were key part of driving them out. So in that particular supplement, the Orieni basically launched a massive invasion of Minbari Protectorate and then Minbari territory, completely unprepared by everybody else, and they made a pretty big dent and hurt the Minbari to the point that they actually needed help from everybody else to more or less actually turn the tide of the war. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details, and people might go, what the heck? How the heck does that work? That doesn't make a lick of sense. Look, two things. One, it was a fan one that I was not the one that created. I'm just throwing this out there.
Mm.
But two, by this point in time, the Minbari had suffered from, they they lost like 2 ships during the Earth Minbari War, but then they, lost lots of ships against the Shadows. They had their own little civil war. Then they helped fight in the Earth. So then they had helped Earth Civil War, and then
Civil
they were dealing with
War, Civil Minbari Civil War, not depicted on screen.
right, yeah, not appearing in this film,
Yeah.
and then dealing with the Centauri threat that was happening with the Drakh, and then of course the Drakh. So at this point in time, the Minbari would have been weakened, and as established during the show, especially in season 5, when they talked about the creation of the Victory class destroyers, they were discussing the fact that they hadn't built much of anything since the white stars, and even those are a finite supply. So, yes, the Minbari were more powerful technologically, but at the same time, the most powerful thing in the world if you're going against millions of them, unless it's a nuke, And at this
So
point, I don't know if Sheridan was involved in the defense.
yeah, I don't really want to get too far into the lore. I can see where it stems from a player perspective, which is we've got the Orieni
Right.
faction, which was War of Centauri Republic, and if you were a player that really enjoyed that faction, you might be a little bit disappointed that there's no modern era version of it.
Yes.
So I can see how they've gone this route. I think the Vorlon tie-ins nice. I think the war with Minbari is kind of eh. Yeah,
Right. I
I think
mean,
I think you've done a great job rationalising it. But from a lore perspective, I think a serious attempt has been made to explain these guys. I never really buy into the galaxy just forgot about them, and it's kind of like probably. I mean that probably wouldn't happen, but do you know what? Who cares? So
right.
someone has written an amount of lore to give these guys a backstory, and that's cool in itself. Uh,
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of backstory, considering my BattleTech background. So this is something I absolutely loved.
this is something we've commented on the AOG stuff was so good at backstory, and I feel that some of the like the fan made stuff then feels that they have to do the equivalent, so that if
Yeah.
for this one they feel like, well, we can't just invent a faction, give it a cool name and some cool ships and put it in, because it just wouldn't feel right, or it would feel empty and hollow compared to the sort of like fleshed. I mean, like the Discari, the Corlani have these sort of convoluted backstories.
Right.
So you kind of almost have to, and there's pros and cons to that, I think.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
So
now, in this case, the Orieni obviously lost their war, so they had to change some things around.
this was the war with the Centauri.
Correct.
Yeah.
And because of that, they adjusted their fleet a little bit. Now, in this case, folks, one of the things you're going to notice when we start comparing ships and styles is that they actually have a different look to them.
Mm.
So, in this case, Doug over has over on the right the command ships, the Paragon and the Prophet. Whereas on the left, I have three command ships. I have a Paragon, a Prophet, and then a special one. And I'll
Mm.
talk about the special one last. So let's compare if you don't mind, let's compare the Paragons. So that one right there, and then the one over here on that side. Now, right off the bat, you're going to notice that they're pretty similar in a lot of
Just
ways.
gonna swap
I
them
mean,
around. Okay.
so you can see pretty simply that, similar amount of weaponry, that kind of stuff. But there are a couple minor differences. The biggest difference is going to be the armor. So obviously, the first Paragon's got a lot more armor than the original.
Mm-hmm.
They have, they have similar weapons, but the big difference is when you look at what the weapons themselves are. So with the original Paragon, you got your two missile launchers in the front. I'm not going to spend any time talking about those really.
It's been
But
done.
let's talk. Right, but let's talk about this. So you got the heavy gas cannon. You'll notice in this case that you have a shorter range weapon. And it doesn't do bad damage, it's pretty potent.
Mm-hmm.
But the Orieni decided to focus on their matter weaponry a little bit more during their interim period. So if you go back to the Great Crusade model, you'll see that they've changed it from a heavy Gauss cannon to a heavy Gauss rifle. And it does a little more damage, but the big thing is its range. So this has now become a legitimate ranged weapon to compare with the likes of a heavy laser. So
Yeah.
3.3. So in this case, it can be pretty scary because if this hits structure, it can knock off the side of a ship from across the map almost.
Oh, yeah,
With,
yeah, or primary system or whatever. This thing's fairly terrifying. I always like to pick up on the little details. I mean, anyone can look at damage and range penalty, but I noticed that it got better at hitting medium ships too. So, and
did
that,
it?
yeah, yeah, it's got +5 fire control of that. It can't shoot at fighters anymore. Not that you were, but
Yeah. That wouldn't make any sense to shoot that at fighters. That's a
no.
very unlucky fighter.
So I mean, if I was doing a lore thing, you could build a whole story around this plus 5% pick, couldn't you? You could say like, well, do you know what? The Orieni themselves use a lot of medium ships, so they respect the use of medium ships. So we're going to make our fire
Hmm.
control a little bit better against medium ships. But to be
Right.
honest, they probably just thought, 15 sounds right.
That would make sense. And on top of that, too, one of the things that they would have come across too against the Centauri is knowing that, well, their primary foe, the Centauri, have switched into using the Deimos and the Phobos because obviously they wouldn't have ignored the Centauri this whole
Well,
time.
I need to stop you there, Tom. You're giving misleading information because the number on the right covers heavy combat vessels and capitals. The middle number is medium ships and
Oh,
light combat vessels and OSATs and mines, but not the Demos.
oh well. Oops.
That that is
Sorry, folks.
that is widely misunderstood, I have to say. But yeah, that
Yeah,
is how
he
it
got me
works.
on that. But either way, it's a much more potent weapon than its predecessors. But
Yeah.
no, the damage isn't that big of a difference, but it's definitely a much longer range weapon.
So I said to you before we started recording, I haven't even looked at the SCS or the even the sprites for this faction, so I'm really coming into this cold. Um, Explain to me how this isn't just again someone who likes Irene deciding that I'm really frustrated by how short to medium range the Gauss the heavy Gauss cannon
Right.
is. So I'm just gonna give it a better range, give it better damage, and that's gonna make me feel good, without maybe thinking too much about gameplay balance.
Well, as far as that's concerned, you could potentially justify it that way and say that's what it was. I honestly do not know who the person was that created the original supplement for it. And there may be balancing that would need to be done as far as that's concerned. But in truth, I think that it's not necessarily that far off because in this particular not this ship, but one of the other command ship variants, there is a weapon that was actually derived from a salvaged Rome
Okay,
weapon. And so, from a rationale perspective, if they salvaged the flak cannon, it's not too unlikely that they would have also scavenged a heavy railgun.
I have
So,
I have so many major issues with that. So,
right,
the whole justification E-Web's one of those ones that's kind of like, well, I want to give them this mechanic because this is a strong mechanic, but lore wise, I can't really justify it. Oh, do you know what? They found it. It's fine. They found it. They reverse engineered it, so now I can use that mechanic in my custom faction. And do you know what? The person who made the Great Crusade already is probably going to be the only person that ends up watching this video, and I'm absolutely tearing into it. So I'm very sorry for that, but it's sir or madam, whoever you are. But it is one of the things I think that irks me a little bit about custom factions is the kind of I just want this mechanic because I don't have enough defenses. I want a flat cannon, and then they just come up with this very I would say superficial lower reason for why they can do that.
right. Well, I mean, from a rationale perspective, these guys also do lots of other matter weapons too. You got the
That is
rapid
true.
Gatling
Why did they have?
railguns.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I mean, that is true. But I'm not going to spend the entire video moaning about the heavy Gauss
Right.
rifle.
This could be one of those discussions that we could just have and keep going. And yeah, because if you actually go down one, they upped the damage on the Gatling railgun as well.
Of course they
Instead of
did.
it being instead of it being 2 to 12, it's 4 to 14. So it's an improved version.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of fine. I think 10 per hex. They kept like the range penalty. I think the fire control went up as well, which is always really important against fighters. I said in the
Yeah,
Wolfgang video, like profile and fire control against fighters is really will decide how well your fighters do.
yeah.
Okay.
Now let's move down to the right just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit because if we move down to the right, we're going to see some of the big ones. So in this case, the War Lance is the replacement for the heavy laser lance that
Mm-hmm.
you'd see on the previous models. The range penalty has not changed. The fire control has improved, I believe, slightly,
Yeah,
but the big difference is the damage. The damage has gone up to basically almost equivalent to what you'd see out of a heavy laser.
definitely. I was slightly better fire control than the heavy laser too, but the range penalty is a little bit lower. So
Right. And it also can't do sustained. It can do raking and piercing.
yeah.
So And lore wise, the original War Lance, I'm sorry, not the War Lance, the Heavy Laser Lance was where the Centauri captured and developed it from there to get to their piercing with their battle lasers. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
All right. So they've you kind of just souped up the heavy laser lance in this case.
basically. Now, there is an interesting one that we have here. Now, we're calling this one the Light Laser Lance, if you go in the
Mm.
central primary.
Yeah.
In the actual SCS, it says Laser Spear, but we had to give it a different name in this because there's already another weapon that somebody put in for another faction called a Laser Spear. Now, originally, this had two A's in laser, but sadly, that turned out just to be a typo. But I kind of liked that. I wish it had stayed. But anyway, the big difference on this, it's basically a souped up light laser. It's got the ability to firing piercing. It's in every other turn, and it's got a better range than a light laser. It's basically got the equivalent range of what the heavy Gauss cannon had previously.
Am I am I allowed to moan about something, or do you want me to shut up?
No, go ahead and moan. It's fine because we haven't even.
360-degree arcs on primary is just it is again just the kind of wishful thinking you see from I think a lot of custom factions because everyone wants their weapons to be an arc, right?
Now,
I know
hang on. Go over to the other Paragon real quick and hover over the heavy laser lance in the primary.
which one I'm going to. This one?
The original ones. No, the one that you had. The one of the no, that one.
Oh, is it? Oh my god! I never realized that.
Yeah. So let's not blame that on our intrepid creator of the custom variants.
Well, I mean, I think that's bollocks too, especially for heavy weapons. But I will admit when I'm wrong. And yeah, fair play.
So yeah, that's the style you go with on that. Now that's the essential difference as far as a lot of this is concerned. Now, one of the big things that I found with this is they still have many of their same weaknesses.
Mm.
They still have their weakness against anything that's not ballistic. So if you've got energy weapons coming in, that can't do a thing to it.
Yeah.
It can still go after ballistics, but again, not quite the same way that an interceptor could. Interceptors are obviously going to be pretty much the top tier of interception in the game.
And I like that keeping the weaknesses as flavor for a faction. I do like that. I think that's a sensible choice.
And I can tell you from experience, these things are still every bit as vulnerable to heavy pulse cannons as the predecessors were, because Jeff and I had done a couple play tests, and he did one with the Narn, and let me tell you, a Rongoth completely shredded one of these.
Yeah,
because too heavy.
Yeah, it will. I mean, I can definitely see that happening. I think if anything, it's more like the firepower's being upgraded to an extent.
Right.
Although,
it does give some limiting factors to it though, because with that much firepower and that many points, if you can get someone to get rid of it, much like the Orieni before, you lose quite a bit. But the big thing with this version of the Orieni is, as useful as the HKs still are, which we'll get to them in a minute, they are not the be-all end-all, because in a lot of ways, the original Orieni, if the HKs were destroyed, they were basically toothless. I mean, they could still hurt you, but they had a lot harder time with it because they didn't quite have the same dynamic ability to adjust to battle. These guys have a little bit more potency in that regard, and that I think was the primary aim of whoever designed them.
Yeah, no, I can see it. Also, the Class L missile racks.
Oh yeah.
That's it. That's a huge buff.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to the biggest buffs.
Oh, okay. Let's move on then to the larger and more intimidating buffs.
So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Prophet variant, because the Prophet variant is basically just the Paragon, but less so. It's going to be comparable to its counterpart over here. It's going to probably have slightly better EW, slightly better weapons in some cases, but by and large, it's not going to be all that different.
Yeah, the SES is almost identical, except the weapons are all slightly
Right.
groovier.
Now, you may wonder, by the way, about the color schemes that I went with for these. There's a couple different things that go into color scheme here.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is if you actually look at the cover of the original Wars of the Entire Republic one, it shows kind of a dark blue, and so that's what I went with for the Prophet.
Yeah.
And the reason why the Prophet and the Paragon have different color patterns is because the Orieni military is divided into the regular Navy and the Strike Force. And so the regular Navy style, we went with more of the blue and silver. And then the Strike Force, we kind of went with the blue and the fiery orange, kind of like a Kosh like color.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also one, as you can see, that's got a paint scheme that's a little bit more like what you see on the other side. And we did this one in homage to the originals we did here. But
Mm-hmm.
this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Flame of Purity. Flame of Purity was the only surviving Paragon from the first War with the Centauri. And
Mm.
as such, she became the fleet flagship. She became the primary source for the test bed of all new weapons and technologies.
Did she? I.
And she also was the last ship left, last command ship left at the end of the Great Crusade when she went down over their home planet,
Cool. Can I
defending.
can I ask? Was this part of the original Great Crusade, or was this something yourself and Jeff cooked up?
Nope, it's in the Great Crusade. It was all in there originally.
Because I've heard on Discord this is total bullshit.
You talked to Fred, haven't you?
Yeah. I've
Um,
talked to a lot of people.
yeah, we did. I did a match the other day with Kaneko where he had a warlock and I had this. So
Did you win?
yeah, I did, but it wasn't as much of it wasn't as rough as it would have been otherwise. But yeah. So as you can see, this one has the same EW as the other. And
Hmm.
it doesn't have any rapid Gatling railguns or anything like that. It has what is called the flak array. And the flak array was reverse engineered from a from a Grom Hulk
Hmm.
and then upgraded into this monstrosity you see here. Because the flak array is like the Grom flat cannon, but more so. And as you can see, the arcs on this thing are big.
They're generous. They're certainly generous.
Yeah. And because of that, they can not only intercept for themselves, they can intercept for friendly ships. And because they're the flak technology, they are able to intercept non interceptable weapons, which um, I've come across in certain ways on the other side as well. As one of my opponents was using it against the shadows, and I was actually messaged you about that. I'm like, um, it just intercepted a shadow molecular slicer. Is that supposed to happen?
No, you flat out told me it was a bug. To which I responded, as I often do with bug reports, by the way, I sort of like, well, as far as I can see, it's not a bug. Show me a rule that says it can't, and I will change it, no problem. But
Yeah, no, it turns out you're right. Yeah, it's not a
uh,
bug, it's a feature.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think that the idea is that the Grom probably have bigger problems against the shadows then, so maybe a little intercept doesn't do too much harm.
Right.
Here though, I can see it being more of a problem. Right. So by my count, there's 12 of these flak arrays on this ship, right? And I remember Jeff asking me about this, whether it was possible. Each one has two guns, like a twin array. That
Mm-hmm.
means that there's 24 intercept shots per turn being put out
Yes.
by this. And as you say with flak array, now flak arrays, if you intercept one shot from a ship with a flak array, it will automatically intercept every other shot. Okay, so you need 3 flak arrays to basically get negative 30% intercept chance against a ship, and you've got 24 of them. That's
Yeah.
because of intercept degradation, so it's like negative 15,
Right.
negative 10, negative 5, and then it won't do any more. But negative 30 against basically anything that fires at you, I would say, and negative 15 against lasers, I suppose, is incredibly beneficial, shall we say.
Yes. Yes. And honestly, as good as the flak arrays are, I honestly feel like the missile launchers might be worse.
Yeah, so this is class R missile rack. It's a bit shorter range. It's only 20 range, but it fires every turn. And you
Yes.
see any ships equipped with these tend to perform very, very well. Like there's that Raider medium ship, there's two of these, and it just kind of flies about and moves
Yeah.
about. So this how many we've got? And I already know the arcs are going to be insanely generous. Yeah, here we go. And I'll one at the back for luck. So to the front, you have five,
Mm-hmm.
and right, five missiles every turn is again exceedingly generous.
Yes. And it's also worth noting that you can use the kinetic missiles as well, which have an extended range right off the bat. So if someone decides to overcommit their
That's
EW on you,
that is a good point. Yeah.
this thing with kinetic missiles can be monstrous. Now bear in mind each kinetic missile is 8 points each, and this ship by itself with no extra missiles is 1900 points. It is more than a warlock.
So it's a custom faction, right? You can have
Right.
ships as strong as these. I'm not going to
Right,
moan
but
about.
it's also a unique ship, and anytime and this is a personal thing. After my first test out with it, I'm like, okay, I feel like this is something that you should only use with somebody when they know you're bringing it,
Right,
because
which
this
is
is a nasty surprise.
more or less what we say about the warlock, which is maybe in the same category as this. I think the issue with that is not everyone recognizes the unique ship marker. It's a Q in fleet selection. If
Hmm.
you didn't know that,
That's true.
not everyone recognizes it, and also it suffers kind of like from the same sort of special character syndrome that you see in like Warhammer 40k, where every
Yeah.
Chaos army is suddenly feeling Abaddon for some reason, that kind of thing. Do you know?
Right.
It's like it's
Right.
so good that you can take it. Why would you not take it?
Right.
And so, yeah, lore wise, there's only one of these in the universe, but funnily enough, every game of Fiery Void seems to have one in it. So,
Right. Well,
and
and I can respect that.
that happens, do you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like winning your all Minbari all white Starfleet. It's you see it, it's fun, you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if I like show up with the Lord, one of my favorites, why is no one asking me to do a video about the Lord? But if I show up with the Lord and I'm like facing something like this and I'll start white, wait, just surrender in turn one. Like, honestly,
Right.
life's too short.
Right.
So,
Right. No, and I get that, but that's actually again one of the reasons why I always told people, like, look, if you want, if you're gonna go against me on this, I'll let you know that this thing's here, and I'll even put it in the game description
yeah,
if I'm bringing it. Like,
yeah.
I'm bringing Flame of Purity, so be prepared.
And that is exactly the right thing to do and what I always say. So like I say, there's no I clearly do have my opinions about this kind of stuff, but they're in the game and they're to be used. And the important thing is always just to communicate what type of game you're going to have with your opponent. Um,
Yes.
and as long as you do that and everyone's on the same page, you have fun. It's more just where you accidentally create a massive power imbalance.
Right.
Um, you know,
And if you want to know by the lore wise, again, Flame of Purity always had the most experimental stuff on her, and she was the only ship in the entirety of the Orieni fleet that had the flak arrays and some of the other stuff on there. So
yeah,
she was basically, it's kind of like, I'm trying to get the best equivalent from other things. It's like the Enterprise B having or not the Enterprise B, the Excelsior having the transwarp drive that didn't work,
mm,
type thing.
yeah.
Except in this case, it worked because it's not for the sake of a plot.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's
All right.
move on because there's
Yeah, we talked enough about command ships. Let's talk about this little booger in the middle here, because this thing is
you're gonna
kind of
have
an
to be
interesting.
more specific than that.
The orange and blue thing right there
Right.
in front of your
I'm
mouse.
glad you
Yeah,
picked that one. This sprite has turned out very well. I really like this one.
yeah. And it's interesting in this one is the fact that it was really just based only off the SCS that we had.
Mm,
So this is the Zealot cruiser. In the lore, one of the things that the Orieni noticed in their war against the Centauri is the fact that they didn't really have a lot of capital ships and cruiser type ships
hmm
outside of their command ships. They were very much a command ship and MCV fleet. So in this case, they built something like this to essentially fill that gap. And so it's essentially armed with a very Drazi like layout and very Drazi-like armament if you look at it. Because on the nose, you have the three Gauss rifles. And now these are not the same as the heavy Gauss rifles. They don't do as much damage and their range isn't nearly as good. So those can fire every other turn. And then on the wings, you have the light laser lance and you have a light laser. So the laser lance is firing forward, and then the light lasers will fire aft. And also, one of the things that's interesting about this, and this makes it a bit unique in the Orieni lineup, is its railguns don't have the arcs that I would expect them to have. So if you look at the rapid Gatling railguns, they actually only have a small coverage for each one. Generally speaking, when you're looking at Orieni rapid Gatling railguns, they tend to have a very overlapping arc.
Yeah.
So this is not a fighter killer.
You still get 4
I mean,
if you center line.
yeah,
Three, even if they're just generally in front of you. I don't think these arcs are bad. I think they're just odd.
they're not as generous as the ones you see on the MCVs. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's fair. But you do get 6 of these improved ones. It's pretty good. And then lots of, this looks very dangerous actually.
Yeah, it gets popped pretty fast in my experience.
Yeah, we'd have to, but it's not cheap, so okay.
There is another variant of it that has the older model of the Gauss rifle and nothing but light lasers in the wings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a dev model, and that's 100 points less. Now, moving down, we have this little trio of Enlightenments. So they updated the Enlightenment Invader, which is obviously something that we had before. There's not much to write home about it. It's the same mediocre platform it always was. But it's the variants that are more interesting. Because one of the things that was assessed after the First War was that they really didn't have a dedicated carrier. And you may wonder, well, what the heck is the command ship for? Well, the command ship's for everything. This carrier, on the other hand, can carry a lot. Like if you hover over the hangars, you can see what it can carry.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot. This thing can carry, I believe, like 54, up to 54 small craft. So you've got, I believe, 36 fighters and 18.
Do you know why I'm laughing?
HKs.
I'm laughing for a very, very technical reason. But how many hit boxes, health your hangars have now matter, because the game will deduct how many fighters your ship can have and then autofill the rest with default shuttles. So,
oh no, that's interesting.
One of the things you might want to think about is your hangar numbers on this faction. Now that that's out there, because I don't think it should have 14 shuttles.
That's a lot of shuttles.
It is a lot of shuttles, but that's got 24 spaces. That's got 12. That's got 12. So it looks like this thing fields 48 fighters. Would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. Let me go back. I can pull up the exact details on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's a total of. Let's see here.
Tom researching things on the internet. The video.
I'm right. How do you spell? I'm on Google, and the Google said. So yeah, it carries 36 light fighters, 12 medium fighters, 14 shuttles is what it officially lists as. So
it should have 14 shuttles.
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea.
All right, I stand corrected. It's supposed to have 14 shuttles.
Yeah. So you can carry 36 Templars, and then you can carry 12 HKs, which gives you a much better listing of the coverage for the screening of the HKs, as we will establish in the past. So it helps a little bit with that.
Mm.
It's a useful ship. Don't get me wrong. It's slow. I have tried variants where I use this instead of a Paragon or a Prophet. It went okay. I mean, the Orieni fleet are really designed around the command ships and the HKs. So it's great to have in a bigger fleet fight, but beyond that, it's not. It's not terrible.
Quite
it's not
generous with a control node as well.
Right, which actually it has a better control node than any of the command ships do.
Yeah.
So it is designed to carry. It's basically designed to be an HK hub.
Yeah. I can see it.
Now, moving on from there, we have something that's much more relevant to the Great Crusade thematically,
Mm.
because they were mad at the Minbari. And when I say they were mad at the Minbari, I'm not really exaggerating. I'm talking like Dilgar level of Minbari anger. So they built the Purifier, which has bomb racks and two mass drivers, to basically flatten Minbari worlds. I bring this in here only for the sake of showing it to you. I've never used it myself. I honestly don't really want to, but it's there. So if ever
why do you not want to use this?
a couple reasons personally, the idea of um, the mass driver thing, but the mass drivers are useless unless I'm going against a stationary structure.
Did
So
you mean mass driver thing in lore, as in maybe we shouldn't genocide an entire planet, or do you mean?
well, that is, I mean, that is somewhat part of it, but also in the fact that in game, I'm pretty sure you can only fire a mass driver if you're at speed 0 against a stationary target.
That is correct. You can power them both off for 18 extra power though, or 16 since you've got a slight deficit.
Which means I can just boost my sensors or engine. I mean,
Mm.
but beyond that, it's not like I can go sustained with anything.
No, no. I mean, they're not credible weapons really for a normal pickup game, but you've got a hell of a lot of ballistics here anyway. Like,
Well, yes, but the Orieni are known for their ballistics beyond that,
no,
so
no. I
it's not
mean,
like
like,
it's.
is this ship worth taking in the game?
Oh, I get what you're saying.
So that's like
Well, that's true.
four forward L racks, another four bomb racks. Um, oh wait, no, sorry, a couple of S racks. Like this thing is like ballistic heaven. Um,
I think I'd still prefer an Apollo, but
yeah, yeah, but if you're playing Great Crusade Orieni, that's not a viable option, is it?
no, it's not, sadly.
Or unless they found that one just floating around in space as well. Uh,
well,
uh,
I will say in the fluff for that, the Earth Alliance complicated matters because of their quarantine after the Drakh plague. So getting help through the Earth Alliance territory was problematic, and Earth actually didn't send a fleet to assist until nearly the end of the conflict.
well,
So
well,
there were no warlocks until much later.
there you go. This only costs 650 points. That feels a little cheap.
Oh well, if we're talking about ballistic things that are inexpensive, you haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, moving on. What's
And then we have our scout right behind those guys,
okay?
which it's a scout. It's basically the same scout we had before,
Mm-hmm.
just better sensors, better guns. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Good heavy weapons for a scout as well.
Mhm.
That's all right.
Well, the original Orieni one had heavy laser lances on too, so it kind of fits.
Yeah, I might have commented on that. I mean, it fits, but yeah, it's for the Irani rather than just these Irani. It's an interesting design choice because scouts generally don't pack a punch, not at long range. Okay, so you have a scout. The scout's okay.
Mhm. All right, so let's move down from our scout to our MCVs.
Mm-hmm.
We have our smaller scout right there, the first one up that you come across there, the Seeker.
Um,
With
can I ask, like, before we get into the MCVs, do they still feature as heavily for the Irani Great Crusade as they're such an important part of
They
vanilla?
do, but not to the same level as
Okay,
they did, but they're still very important.
okay,
So you got the Seeker here, which has its own EW
yeah,
for reasons.
mm,
Now, one of the ones I am going to bring up here is the next one, the Obedient
yeah.
Patrol Frigate. This is basically going to look almost identical to its counterpart on the standard side, just with newer weapons. Did I not include that in there? Oh,
Mm,
yes. It's the Devout.
yeah.
It's basically the same thing as the Devout, give or take. It's got a little bit more offensive firepower at the expense of two rapid Gatling railguns.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one that I always pair this little bugger with the HKs. because it's a great HK escort.
Yeah, yeah.
Moving on from there, because there's not much to say about it. We have the let's see here. Go ahead. The commune battle leader. Let's go ahead and go with that. Now
Mm-hmm.
this one has an equivalent over there on the other side. It's up top. There we go. And you'll notice that their weaponry is still very similar. It's still the same general layout. But again, in this case, we have our light laser lance as opposed to our laser lance.
Mm.
So every other turn versus every 3 turns, flip a coin, whichever one works best for you as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Now, I will say this next one, the strike frigate that you're about to pull up. I'm sorry, that's the missile corvette, isn't it?
Yeah, that's.
Okay, let's talk about this one. This is
Mm-hmm.
the this is the one because it's only 390 points.
How much was the original one? 390 points also. So they cost the same?
Oh, I'm sorry, it should be 400 then, shouldn't it? No, it is 390. You're right. Oh, okay, this is a bit underpointed then. Um, yeah,
Let's
it's the one that's got the.
dig them up, compare them directly to make you feel bad about this. All right. Well, let's. Okay, so it's got 3R missile racks. It's like that raider ship I was talking about.
Yeah, it's basically the Stormfront if you had another Stormfront. It's like, hey dog, I see you like Orieni in your Orieni, so I put Orieni in your Orieni so you can Orieni harder.
Yeah. I think actually the raider ship, because IML raider ships are probably underpointed as well, but it's like the rapid missile launcher doesn't get enough respect when it comes to point values, so a lot of ships with it feel underpointed because of just how well it seems to play. So yeah,
Right. Well, in this case, you throw some kinetic missiles on it, you throw some anti-fighter missiles on it, or some heavy missiles. This thing
yeah,
can get nasty. This
yeah.
thing can get really
Is it
nasty.
restricted? I'm hoping 33%.
It is. It's a U. It's an uncommon. I think it's 10% actually.
No. I mean, it looks like a nightmare. It's probably a little bit underpointed, yeah. Although they haven't, like the commune got +2 to its sensors. They haven't really changed that much else about it by the looks of it. I guess the improved Gatlings are another buff. So, I mean, I don't like it, but it's not that different, I suppose, from the Stormfront, except for these things. I imagine that's a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of those things you've got to always be aware of what's coming. Now,
Yeah.
this is the one I actually think is interesting. This one I would say this is really the comparable to the Vengeful.
Mm,
So the Vengeful laser frigate has the heavy laser lance, and this has a light laser. This has light laser lances and Gauss rifles. So you've downgraded the primary firepower, but you've upped the number of ship hurting weapons and the rate of fire. So it's a little bit more expensive, or actually
yeah.
it's a little bit less expensive, I believe.
No, the bench was 415. This new Vengeance one is 490, so it's 75
Oh,
points.
that's a big difference. Okay.
That's
It's
pretty,
also
yeah.
got better sensors and more in the same rapid Gatling railgun setup. So this is one that's really useful. Frankly, I find this to be one of the best MCVs they've got across the board. It's just got a good balance of what it can do.
So the amount of upgrades, I would say, again, is this restricted or is this common?
This one's common.
Ah, right, yeah. I would just fill my fleet with as many of these as I could get. They've given it extra thrust, so it's easier to get that kill shot. Everything hits the forward arc. You're just gonna wipe things off the face of the earth with this thing. Better EW, better thrusters at the back. Just everything seems to have been souped up compared to this. This one, frankly, I don't rate very highly at all. What usually happens is you get one shot off with a heavy laser lance, and then it basically just becomes 4 rapid Gatling railguns. So
That's what I've noticed as well.
this with the, you know, 4 medium weapons, but with low cooldown, seems much more useful to me. Terrifying, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you on that.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about the thing that everyone always likes to talk about with the Oriene. the HKs.
Mm.
Now, in this case, everyone will be happy to find out that the Blazing Star, instead of the Shining Star Hunter Killers,
Mm.
are actually not any more powerful as far as their damage is concerned.
Okay.
They do the same amount of damage. The only real difference is they have slightly better thrust.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might have a little bit better armor.
Yeah, their armor does seem a little bit higher. I can't show you the base versions of these because I had to start them in the hangar as of last update. So you'll need to look at the previous video to get their stats. But I do think 3 to 3 does sound a little more heavily armored. Yeah. Does the
Yeah.
thrust gone up a little bit as well?
Yes, the thrust has gone up just a little bit.
I said in the video we got 11's actually a really nice sweet spot for thrust because you can usually like turn 3 times or travel at 11, get a bit more maneuverable. It's 11 I think is much more useful than 9 in practice. Anyway.
Yeah. And so lastly, we have our Templars, which are not that different than what you've seen previously.
Mm-hmm.
Their guns, again, much like the other Gatling railgun weapons in this, are moderately improved.
Mm-hmm.
But the only real big difference is now instead of 1 armor, it has 2 armor on the front.
14 thrust as well. That seems higher.
Well, you should have. Let's compare with the Templars over there.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, it's got 2 more thrust.
Okay. That's
But
that's good. I mean, thrust is fighters' bread and butter.
yeah, and it does give the Orieni still that massive advantage with the fighter that the fighter can hurt anything because that's matter-based damage, which means it ignores armor, so no fighter can ignore it completely.
Yeah.
Although some fighters can tank a few more hits longer. But anything that's in the light to medium category, it's going to be afraid of it. Heavy fighters can shrug off the damage a bit better. That's something that in our playtesting we came across is that Star Furies and Frazis are much better able to handle the Templars than Sentries and any other smaller fighter because the damage that it can do, while still good, is not enough to kill a single one of those in one shot, even ignoring the armor.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anything
So-
with a dropout bonus probably has a better
Yeah.
chance as well. Surprised the Sentry didn't though, because its offensive bonus is insane. It's usually a good interceptor.
It is. It's amazing, but again, it's still got the benefit of the ignoring armor.
Yeah, and then actually this is more thrust than a Sentry and better initiative too. So, yikes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So with that in mind, that is the overall layout of the Great Crusade Orieni. Their paint schemes, their styles, their overall lore, and I enjoy playing them. Don't get me wrong, but I always try to make sure my opponents know that I'm bringing them ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that way it's not. It's much. It's honestly, it's kind of like how I play with the Orieni in general. Because most people don't like to be surprised by the Orieni, because if you're surprised by the Orieni, that usually means you're not ready to deal with the HKs.
Yeah, it can be, or you don't respect the mediumships well enough. I'll give you my honest thoughts on this. I think, like, I can understand why someone's made these. I think for me, from a game, because I always think about it from a game balance point of view. Okay,
Right.
the issue is that the original Orieni are a very strong faction. Yeah, they might be a couple of 100 years old in universe timings, but gameplay-wise, they're solid tier 1, generally the highest tier, and they can take anyone on. So when you take that as your basis and essentially just upgrade every single system or weapon that they have, you end up with something that will probably be a bit stronger. And that's why you have to start informing your opponent in advance about these things. I think I would have probably, I just don't really understand the need for this as a faction, other than it's a bit of fun and it's fun to play strong factions sometimes. But maybe I'm being a little too reductive. What do you think?
Well, no, it's a bit of fun is basically the whole point behind it for me. I mean, the big frustration you'd run into with Orieni more often than not is the fact that you don't have anything that can reach out and hit somebody. And having at least one weapon that can do that that isn't an HK or a missile is nice.
Hmm.
Now that said, matter weapons can still be intercepted without too much difficulty anyway. So you do get that man. You get that behind it. I can see some of it feeling a little bit too much. The rapid launchers obviously make a big difference, and Flame of Purity. I mean, let's just pull Flame of Purity out of it because she's kind of like the unique hero ship. It's like saying, "Oh, it's the Enterprise,"
Yeah,
It
yeah,
gets to
but
do.
you, in a way, you can, because I think with flak arrays, and purposely just giving them really long range weapons, you've done that thing that I've mentioned, where it's just like, oh, my favorite faction has some weaknesses. I'm going to make a custom version of them, and those weaknesses are going to be directly
Right,
addressed.
right.
And you,
Whereas I feel like your standard Paragon and your standard Prophet in this aren't as bad as far as that's concerned.
mm,
Really, they're just the same things with a slightly longer range weapon to go with it, and they're still vulnerable to all the incoming fire that they otherwise would be.
yeah,
That's
but
not to say they're not still strong. They are, but they're also not able to ignore everything fired at them because they can't block everything fired at them. They don't have the holy wall of flak in front of them like they're a battle star.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not trying to be down on these. I haven't even played them, so take my opinion with a pinch of salt. It may just be my old biases showing through, but I think they've been solidly made. I mean, I can see that, and as I said at the start of this, I like that the effort was put into the lore. I like that for the most part the sort of ships and systems are consistent with the sort of vanilla Oreni faction. Possibly too consistent because 200 years have passed. Maybe you could have done something a bit more creative. I don't know. But
I mean, they also
it's been fun.
worship the Vorlons. They also worship the Vorlons. Order.
Yeah, yeah, okay, fine. You can hand wave anything away with lore, can't you? Right. On that bombshell, shall we wrap things up? Is there any sort of final words you'd like to say? Any final sort of shut the fuck up, Diggy? I like this faction. Stop being so down on them. Kind of comments?
No,
Anything like
no. And the
that?
thing is I'm very willing to listen to the details on that because, um, honestly, the first time I ever took them out, I took out Flame of Purity, and I think Flame of Purity really cleared to me. I'm like, oh, yeah, that might be a bit much. But in removing Flame of Purity from the equation, it isn't as smothering
Hmm.
as you'd otherwise think. I would say that they're still high tier one, but they're definitely beatable. I would say that again. I would say that if you bring in Flame of Purity, that you need to basically kill that thing as fast as you can. Otherwise, it's going to intercept everything, not only for it, but for its allies, because it can also intercept within 5 hexes
Yeah.
for its
Do
allied
Do you
ships.
find that they're stronger than vanilla already? Because some of the points are they're obviously stronger systems, but some of the points values are higher too. So as a kind of
And
fleet,
that's actually something I've been thinking about. I don't know if they're that much stronger in that regard, simply because you have to take so many fewer things
mm,
for it to work.
yeah,
Because I remember Fred even took them one time and he said, "Man, you're really limited in what you can do because you have to have certain things. You have to have a certain number of fighters, you have to have the HKs, and because of that, you got to have your jump engine. So you have to bring in a command ship. And with that in mind, it does again limit your options because I find that sometimes if you're wanting to do it, honestly, using a profit from the original ones is easier
mm,
because you get the same amount of HKs, same amount of fighters as you did with the Paragon, but then you also have more points to play with to get more MCVs, and that's where the value added proposition comes in.
yeah.
So,
All right, and that's
so
quite it's quite interesting. It sounds like they suffer a bit from what the Yolu suffer from.
yeah,
Incredibly capable fleet, but your fleet building options are a bit limited just because they cost so much.
yes. Although I would dare say the Yolu would probably beat these guys pretty handily in a
Well,
lot of
there's
cases.
not many people that YOLO win. In fact, they're because the rationale or the logic in this game is more ships is usually better, and I think YOLO are one of the rare exceptions to that. Anyway, this isn't a YOLO faction spotlight, and I mean, if we hit the hour, I think it becomes a podcast, and I'm not allowed to do that. So, shall we say
But
our
doesn't
goodbyes?
it count that I'm part of the podcast crew, though? I mean, doesn't that give you a little leeway?
You tell me. If you're willing to give us your blessing. But I think we have run our course here. I think we have talked about everything we needed to. So, any last words?
No, that's about all I have to say about it. They're fun, and they have some ships that you may not take as much of, but you know what? It's if you want to play Orieni and you want to get something that's got a little bit more reach on it and a little bit more vengeance upon the people that made your gods go away, then here you go. Have some religious fervor, and you can worship your space jellyfish guys.
Yeah, an incredibly niche marketing message there for them, but we'll take it. All that's left for me is to say thanks for your time today, Tom. It's really like I've learned so much about this faction, so it's been interesting for me, and as always, I hope it's been interesting for anyone listening to this as well. So goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Take care.